Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Today we're going to be creating some Christmas magic with die cut cards. Die cutting is always one of my very favorite techniques, and today we are going to focus on brand new products from the Simon Says Stamp Festive Fun November 2024 release. We're going to start by doing the blackout technique for our backgrounds for super dramatic look and feel. I am taking new embossing folders from the release and running them through my die cutting machine using beautiful rich colors of cardstock. This green cardstock first. This is used with one of the new embossing folders. I believe this is called Frosty Pines. It is absolutely gorgeous. Next, we are going to take the Schoolhouse Red with another beautiful embossing folder. I love this one. This one is called the Shimmer Lattice, which looks like beautiful poinsettias. And then off camera, I did take these Sweets and Treats with some slate cardstock, which is a beautiful rich gray, and we're going to emboss that one. Flipping it over to the debossed side, I like to take a black ink and rub it over the surface. I do like working on a glass surface most of the time because it makes cleanup so easy. And you can see that the ink is only catching on the part that is not debossed. That leaves that beautiful rich color that we chose to use for our base as the highlight, and it blacks out everything else. This is probably my favorite technique of 2024. It is so beautiful and such a unique and fun way to use embossing folders. Once we have our blackout technique with our backgrounds, I'm going to take a little white splatter from Spellbinders, a paintbrush. I like to mix in a little water to kind of reactivate that and make the product move a little easier. And we are going to spatter this all over our trees and our poinsettia or shimmer lattice background. I am not going to do it on the gray background, as we're doing more of a scene. Well, we have two scene cards, but it doesn't really work with that third scene card. So I decided to only do it on two of the backgrounds. I'm going to let those sit and completely dry, and we're going to start building the components for our cards, starting with our snowmen. I'm sure no one is surprised that Arthur and Oliver the Snowman, their two separate sets, are two of my favorites. I am a snowman kind of girl. I do love almost every snowman product that comes out. And so we are going to build our big and small snowmen. And Simon Says Stamp has come out with some of the most incredible snowmen this year. So whether you like putting them in snow globes, building scene cards, making tags, these are going to be amazing. I did take my little pink round blending brush, and I actually didn't even re-ink it. Whatever was left on there, I used to pink up Arthur's cheeks, and then I popped his eyes out. I do very, very much appreciate that Simon Says Stamp created a die that comes in the set for both Arthur and Oliver that fits back behind their face, meaning that you don't have to like inlay any small eyes or even replace them with black pearls unless you want to. So I love that. I went ahead and layered that back behind. I did leave the nose inlaid, and then I just popped up my orange die cut nose on top. That gives it a little bit of dimension, but you could remove it and inlay it if you want to. I've layered the pieces for his stocking cap. Look how cute that is. And then we're going to build his scarf. You could do this with cardstock, pattern papers, whatever you want to do. You could even die cut everything from white cardstock and color it with markers if you want to. Lots of ways to customize and make this your own. Absolutely incredible. Next, we are going to take some of the new Positively Dazzling gems from Simon Says Stamp. I love that there's new colors. We have Peppermint, which is red and white, and I'm going to take the reds from that, but we're not going to use those yet. And we have Sprout, which is this beautiful green that I'm using to adorn the buttons going down the front of Arthur's little chest there. Now, once I have his scarf and things in place, I'm going to take a white jelly roll pen and add detail to his scarf. I opted to do solid cardstock today instead of pattern paper, but we will do a tiny bit of embellishing. On his scarf, I'm going to do some stripes to make it look like a striped scarf. And then on Oliver's hat, we're going to do some polka dots. Plus, we'll add a few highlights here and there. These, again, I can't emphasize enough how much I love these snowmen. I love that they kind of have that little flat bottom to them as well, making them perfect for tucking into different scenes, snowbanks, all of that great stuff. Or in this case, they're just going to line up really nicely along that bottom edge of our card design. So I really, really love that. We're going to continue our embellishing, and then let's move over to Oliver and get him all put together. I love also that they're facing each other basically, so that if you choose to use them together, they work together beautifully. The size difference, again, absolutely adorable. They kind of have that same look and feel, but let's say you're making some gift tags and you really just want some small gift tags. Arthur's not going to fit. Oliver will. Same goes if you want some bigger tags and you're not doing a huge tag and you maybe don't want to fit both of them on there. You want to add some sentiments or words, word dies, or whatever it might be. You could totally do that just with one or the other. So they work together great, work on their own great as well. I love that they have two different kind of hats, and you'll notice I just kind of alternated scarf colors, hat colors. Very traditional. I find it funny. I go in phases, and almost every year I feel like I have a certain direction that I just end up going with my holiday projects, and I'm very traditional reds and greens this year. I know a lot of you love the red and green traditional as well. That doesn't mean that's the only thing I make during the year, but I do find myself drawn to a certain theme for a lot of projects, and I kind of think that might be it this year. I'm again taking my white jelly roll pen, adding little polka dots to the hat to give it some texture and some interest. You could always do this with pattern paper if you prefer. Now, they look adorable. I love these little guys, little white dots on the cheeks as well that I inked up with my pink blending brush. And here's where we're taking those peppermint little positively dazzling gems, and I'm going to pick out the red ones. I love the white sparkly ones, but we're going to use those a little bit later for embellishment. We'll use the red to go down Oliver's chest. Okay, we're going to set that aside for a minute. And, oh, actually, you know what? Before we do that, I am going to put some glossy accents on the eyes and noses of Arthur and Oliver, so that can be drying while we work on our other two cards, all of the die cutting and assembly that goes into those. So now we're talking about the sweets and treats, and that's the background I used for this next card with the slate cardstock, but we have lots of die cuts, so I kind of am going through what I'm using. I want to mention the new Simon Says stamp sets I'm using: Holiday Tea Time, Holiday Baking Essentials, the Snowman Cupcake, and then from the last release from Simon Says Stamp, one of my favorites, the classic cloche duo, which you're going to see me use over and over again. Everyone who's been here for a while knows how much I love snow globes and cloches. They just work so well, and that small one is going to be perfect to use to place our snowman cupcake in, or any of these sweet treats, honestly. But then I really needed a few extra things to build this scene card. The shelf that I'm using here is from the Waffle Flower Shelves die. This is from a couple of years ago, but it continues to be something I come to over and over again. I love the wood plank from Simon Says Stamp, but it's great for a little bit bigger scene card. If you have seen any of my kind of shelf or mantle cards lately that feature a lot more images that are bigger, these are all pretty small. obviously we're using a lot of dies on this little A2 size card. I'm using the wood plank for those bigger cards. So we needed something smaller scale, waffle flower shelves dies. Also, I needed a couple of extra things when I was looking at this set, and I'd already die cut all of the new dies, and I thought, you know what this little kitchen needs? It needs some cookbooks in fun festive colors. So we're taking the Lawn Fawn bookmark die. It had a little tiny set of books that die cuts this set of 3, and I die cut them from Pesto Palm, Hero Arts cardstocks, those light and dark greens that I love so much, and Schoolhouse Red. You could take any kind of book die here. Waffle Flower also has some book dies. Lawn Fawn has other sets of book dies. I know there's more. So just kind of shop your stash is what I like to call it. And then I needed a crock. I needed a crock to stick my rolling pin and my wooden spoon in from our baking set, and that comes from the Lawn Fawn art supplies, if you can believe it. I know it's it is a jar for your paintbrushes, but look at your dies in different ways. How can you make them work for what you're building? So that's kind of how I came to that, and I know you can see him or see that crock on the work table. We'll put that on our card in a minute. Now, I know that my cloche is going to be my tallest element with that snowman cupcake in it. So that is what we're going to place on our card first. I glued the snowman cupcake components to the cloche, which I did die cut from vellum to give it that glass appearance, but I didn't really want to put my snowman behind it in this case. And then I hid my foam adhesive back behind that and popped it up. You'll notice I popped up the shelf, I'm popping up the books, and now I am placing my rolling pin and my wooden spoon in that crock. These are the 2 tallest components on my card. And I kind of had to work with this a little bit to make it work for me. I wanted this to be like a open shelving in a kitchen. That's how I'm imagining it. Oh, and real quick, the other thing I want to mention here, the shelves dies, I die cut from simonsaysstamp caramel cardstock. And it does have this particular shelf has that wood grain to it. I took gathered twigs, distress ink, and rubbed it over the surface so it's picking up that wood grain of it. Now, originally I thought I would put those shelves one right on top of another. I love that look. I do that a lot. But you know what? That's not how they would fit. That glass cloche would not necessarily fit in that design. And so I decided, why not offset my shelves a little bit? That can give me 3 shelves on our card instead of 2. A little bit more room to play. It looks like the shelves are offset a little bit, and I thought that might be really interesting. You guys, I ended up loving this look. I think this is really, really fun, and it's a great way to utilize maybe a little bit more space, especially if you have lots of tall elements. I didn't necessarily want to put my crock and my snowman cloche on the same shelf. I felt like that might be a little heavy. And so the way this card ends up being designed, I love how they kind of work out. You're going to see me playing around with the different elements, trying to figure out how do I want to position everything together. We're going to go ahead and let's kind of finish up that bottom shelf, I guess, if you will. We're going to put the whipped topping in one of the mugs. This is from the holiday tea time. It kind of has the little figgy pudding, our tea kettle, and a couple of different mugs, which I think is so fun. And the small scale is really lovely. It means you can build some cute scene cards. Scene cards kind of are my original love language with card making. You guys probably know that. I am very drawn to that. And so this was a very, very fun card to make. And my other love language is mixing and matching. So anytime I can shop my stash, find, those products that I have and love and can utilize in brand new ways, it just fills my heart. So we are going to stack some books next to our snowman cupcake cloche. We're going to tip one there. We've popped up one of the mugs, so it kind of is like the cloche and the mug are sitting here on the shelf. I just love decorating shelf scene cards. I've heard from you guys love them as well. So anytime I can find a great way to create a new one, I love to do that. This little figgy pudding is really cute. I love the little holly berry leaves you add to it. Now there isn't like a little red circle. Can you probably find one in another set to die cut to place in the center of your little leaves? Absolutely. But we're going to replace that with a little red gem. And that's a great way to add a little sparkle and utilize some of these fun new little gems as well. You could use a little red pearl if you wanted to instead. Nouveau crystal drops would also be a great option. We're going to build our tea kettle. I do have to die cut a third shelf because I think that tea kettle is going to work really great up on that shelf. There's also this other mug in the holiday tea time that has a little heart die cut. It has a layering piece that fits back behind it, which I love. And I love that mug, but I think a little stack of teacups might be super cute. So we're going to need to cut a couple more. I have them on my desk and I've got my third shelf now, and we are going to sit some books up at our tea kettle. Look at that. The rule of thirds, this just visually takes your eye through this card, which really looks good the more we get added. The books are pretty small, but the thin foam adhesive strips from Simon Says Stamp work perfectly here. And I like to have some of my books slightly tilted. Some straight up and down, some slightly tilted. We're popping everything up off of that blackout technique background so that it kind of stands out from the background. But I love that the background has a little bit of texture to it, like almost a fun wallpaper. But the gray on black allows all of these rich, beautiful Christmas colors to really take center stage. Now, popping out from behind our tea kettle and then the cookbooks is our gingerbread man. I know he's a gingerbread man cookie from our holiday baking essentials, but I thought he was kind of cute popping out there from the tea kettle. We're going to build a stack of teacups that's going to sit next to our crock on that middle shelf. So just mixing and matching the different colors here, placing that contrast color back behind the teacup to show through the little heart. Also hearts, I'm sure, as everyone knows, my other favorite thing, and this card has lots of them. Because the teacup does cut out that heart shape, obviously, to place the contrast color back behind, the solid piece back behind, you end up with lots of little hearts. Well, let's utilize some of those, shall we? I am going to place a little green heart on our snowman cupcake. We're going to put a red heart in the center of our crock, and it's a great way to utilize some of those pieces and also embellish them just a little bit. I'm going to add a third book, I think, up here on this top shelf. We need one of those light green books, and I think that's going to finish it off. We will place our cups on the second shelf, and then it's time to finish embellishing. Where I kept the panels for the first two backgrounds I created, I haven't made the poinsettia card quite yet, but where I left those A2 sized 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, this background is 4 by 5 1/4. And the reason is I am cut it A2 size. I did the blackout technique, but then as I was looking at building this card, I decided I wanted a white border all the way around. So I trimmed it down before I started embellishing and adding all of these pieces. Okay, I'm super happy with this scene. I think it's adorable, but let's add some little white highlights to really finish it off. So we're adding white highlights here and there. We're also using it to give our bigger, taller mug, a little bit of embellishment. The spines of the book to kind of make it look like there's writing on them. They're too small to really have writing, so just adding those little white lines adds some interest. And again, this will tie in beautifully with the white border all the way around. Let's add some here. And I did add a little white highlight to the glass cloche, which I think works really cute. I didn't add it right here, but I will add that. And I'm taking a black jelly roll pen and embellishing the eyes on our gingerbread. We did the white down the center for buttons. He ended up being one of my favorite little components. Just like before with Arthur and Oliver, I'm going to take glossy accents and embellish a couple of things. So the hearts on the crock, the hearts on the teacups, and the heart on the snowman cupcake wrapper, all are going to have glossy accents. This can be drying, the nose on our cupcake as well. This can be drying while we work on assembling our beautiful poinsettia card, and then we're going to come back and put them all together. I did end up starting with my sentiment on this card. We are pulling sentiments for all 3 cards today from the brand new Poinsettia Swag set. This is a beautiful stamp set from Simon Says Stamp that has a poinsettia floral and 4 gorgeous greetings. So I stamped that with black along the bottom edge of a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch panel of Schoolhouse Red cardstock. Then I placed some foam adhesive on my blackout panel, adhered that right above the sentiment, and trimmed off the excess. I cannot talk. Now we are going to build our florals. So I am taking 3 brand new beautiful florals from the Festive Fun release. We have Pine Needle Cluster, the Tall Poinsettia, and Fresh Holly Sprig. On the Fresh Holly Sprig, I did take a little kale ink and I pounced on that on the Pesto die cut branch. I've also pounced that on the smaller branches and adhered the red berries to those little pieces, gluing the small pieces to the larger Fresh Holly Sprig, and then we're layering in our Tall Poinsettia and our pine needle clusters, which were die cut from a gold cardstock. The gold is going to help brighten this up a little bit and add that little touch of shimmer. This is the brushed gold cardstock from Spellbinders that I'm using here on this card, just tucking all of those components in. Now you might think, well, I love these pieces, but they do kind of fade into the background. Never fear. One of my favorite things to do for Christmas greenery, all that beautiful holiday foliage, is to flock the edges. And so we are going to take a little Distress grit paste and a palette knife, and we are going to add snowy flocking to everything, and it's really going to make all of this stand out beautifully. I did take another new color. I think this is called Butter. The Butter Positively Gems, and I use that for the center of my poinsettia. Here's my grit paste and my palette knife, and I am very messily, but just trying to touch the edges. I just take a little bit of the grit paste, and we are rubbing it along the edges of all of our beautiful holiday foliage. Look at just how beautiful and elegant this makes it look. Touching this even on the gold, a little bit on the berries to give them that frosted look. If you wanted, you could even use more of a translucent, the sparkle, what's the sparkle one called? That would be a fun look too, because it would be a little bit more of a glittery, sparkly look instead of the flocking, and I think that would be beautiful. Oh, we're going to let that dry. It does dry very quickly. Make sure you clean up your palette knife and everything right away. Okay, we're ready to pull it all together now. We do need to stamp our greeting for our Arthur and Oliver snowman background, so I am going to stamp Season's Greetings, again from that Poinsettia Swag set, again with black ink. I felt like the black really tied in beautifully to the blackout technique, so we're just going to stamp that on another panel. We'll trim down our tree background to fit just like we did with the poinsettia. So we're just going to trim it down, I think about 3/4 of an inch. For our holiday baking set, I am going to stamp my third sentiment, the Merry Christmas, on white cardstock using the same VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And we're going to die cut that one with the coordinating die that comes with that, or that you can get with that stamp set. I'm trimming down my panel, and I did start with a 1/2 inch and it wasn't quite enough. I'm going to look, and I was like, oh, nope, a little bit more. I don't want to cut too much. We want to maintain as much as possible. So I'm going to line that up and just give that a quick little snip, and that looks great. We're going to pop that up with foam, and then we're going to glue down Arthur and Oliver with some foam on top of this. So lots of dimension for these cards, but it looks amazing. There's not a whole lot else needed. I love how the snowmen look against these pine trees of the background with the falling snow. It just is so elegant, so pretty. Look how cute. Oh, I just love them. Now, I do think they need a tiny bit of sparkle. So from the Peppermint Positively Dazzling Gems, pardon me, there's lots of words there. I'm going to take the clear gem, so the white part of the peppermint, and we are going to add some sparkly snowflakes to the sky to finish this off. Just a few here and there. Looks like I maybe did about six or seven of these little gems. I'm using, of course, the embellishment wand to easily pick these up and pop them in place. We'll glue this panel to a white top fold card base, and that card is all finished. I always like to just use a little liquid glue. I use the Simon Says Stamp pre-cut and scored card bases. They are my favorite. And there we go. Now I want to add a little bit of extra sparkle to our poinsettia card. So again, we are going to grab the Butter Positively Dazzling Gems, those same ones that we used for the center of the poinsettia. They have a little bit of that yellow or gold-ish touch to them. You could also take the gold Positively Gems or the new metallic ones if you wanted, and kind of scatter those about. That adds just an extra touch of sparkle. But doesn't the blackout technique just create the most dramatic, beautiful backgrounds for these holiday cards? I absolutely love how this looks for each. So pretty, so beautiful. And then we will glue this to a white top fold card base as well. Now, looking at these cards, now it appears that our holiday baking card, gorgeous as it is, needed a little something. So I added some of those clear peppermint gems, our sentiment, and we popped it on our card base. Perfection. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these 3 die-cut magical Christmas cards featuring Simon Says Stamp festive fun products. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community.